Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another episode of Conversations with Chris and Cameron. It's episode 51, and today we are going to recap the tough Auburn loss that Kentucky had, and they should have probably honestly won that game against Auburn. UK, of course, they got up 9 points in the second half, but sadly they fell. They lost 75 to 74 in a heartbreaker against Auburn, and then, of course, we're going to briefly talk about the South Carolina game. We're filming this podcast on Tuesday, so likely it won't get uploaded until after the game, but we'll talk about it briefly at the end, maybe for 5 minutes. But how are you doing, Cameron?
Man, as good as I could be with a three-game losing
Yeah.
streak right now. Obviously, putting a whole lot of our emotions into a team and having a three-game losing streak is tough. But
Yeah.
still rallying behind the guys. Still excited to see them play, and I trust that they'll turn it around. But overall, doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well as well. Of course, like you were saying, UK is riding a three-game losing streak right now. It's not a lot of fun. First time this has happened since the 2020-2021 season, where of course UK went 9 and 16. They missed the NCAA tournament, had one of the worst years ever as the Kentucky basketball program. I think it was honestly the worst record at Kentucky basketball, but luckily, UK isn't nearly as bad as that 9 and 16 team back in the 2020-2021 season, though.
Yeah, certainly not there. Like you said, I think that was literally the worst that we've ever been.
Yeah,
And just a really unfortunate run there. But yeah, no, I think obviously we're a little bit better than that, but
a little
and
bit.
also thankfully we're not in last year's SEC, so we're able to you can kind of look at some of these games and think maybe we can turn these things around.
Hmm.
But it's some dark times. Like
Yeah,
you'd be lying if you said otherwise. I mean, we lost the Georgia game that we talked about. They had lost 5 of 6, and now we lost this one to Auburn where they had lost five straight. So
yeah.
this team has been very confusing all year, and
Hmm.
we've talked about that throughout the year, where you literally can't expect anything, and it happened exactly how you expected it, other than you with the Georgia score, even though you got the scores wrong. But they're
Yeah, flip flop.
extremely hard to like understand, and
Yeah.
they come out different every single game, but they keep fighting, and I mean we'll talk about this Auburn game. Some guys
Yeah,
continued their run, and then some guys did not have their best outing, but
yeah.
yeah, got to get these cats back on the roll.
Yeah, I gotta get back on track. Hopefully, they can get the win against South Carolina. The stats recently, it doesn't look very great against South Carolina on the road. We'll talk about that a little bit, but 2-3 in their last five road games against South Carolina, so not great. And then I think they are also 1-2 against them since 2020. And then UK is 0-3 against Meechie Johnson whenever he's been at South Carolina and Ohio State. So overall, not great stats for UK versus South Carolina, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But continuing to talk about Auburn, UK, like I said, lost by one. We wasted another career high for Otega Oweh. He had two career highs in points in back-to-back games with Georgia and then Auburn, and ended up in losses. Of course, Oweh had 29 points, 11 for 20 from the field, 6 for 8 from the free throw line. He also grabbed 7 rebounds and 3 assists. He did have 4 fouls, and that's one of the reasons why he only played 35 minutes, because if he probably wasn't in foul trouble, he could have probably played that whole game. But it just stinks that we wasted another career high from Otega Oweh in this game.
Yeah, he continues to do his thing, and their late it was him and Aberdeen trying to will us to a
Yeah,
victory, and partially him. The 1 3 that he hit was late and a big time opportunity. Had a bunch of crazy dunks throughout it. It felt like every single possession ended up in an OA dunk there for a stretch,
yeah,
and yeah, he was awesome. He was absolutely incredible, and he continues to like impress. Like you said, new career high for him. He continues this run of. He's had one that was down, but other than that, the guy has been on an absolute tear, especially in SEC play. So, like you said, it sucks that we kind of ruined a game that you could go away from that and be like, wow, that was the Otega Oweh game. Now this
yeah,
game is kind of memorized for different reasons, but credit to Oweh and those guys for never giving up, because like I mean they've never had an ounce of give up in them,
yeah,
except maybe the Gonzaga game, but
yeah.
we're not
Get
going to
that.
mention that. But these guys, like, they've obviously come back in many different spots, and then in this one where you have the highs and lows of this game, where you come out and you go up 9,
Yeah.
and then you kind of give that away, and then you're down 5, and then like there's all these things going against you, and he
Mhm.
just continued to go. And There was the missed layup late, but other than that, down the stretch, he was absolutely incredible. So shout out to Oweh. We wouldn't even been in the game without
Yeah.
his performance.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Oweh for sure. And then, of course, Denzel Aberdeen, he played the game sick. Some people didn't know if he was going to play or not because he was listed on the availability report on Friday night as probable, which means more than likely he was going to play, but nobody knew why. And then later it came out he was sick, and now UK is 2-1 whenever a player plays sick because Oweh was sick against Tennessee on the road, got the win. Colin Chandler then was sick against LSU. No, I got him flip-flop. My bad. Otega Oweh was sick for the LSU game. UK came back and won. Then Colin Chandler, or I don't know if I got him flipped. But you get my point. And then, of course, Aberdeen sick against Auburn, and they finally got the loss. So now UK is 2-1 on the year whenever a player plays sick. But Aberdeen have 15 points, 5 for 14 from the field. And then, like you said, he hit that three towards the tail end of the game to try to get UK into it, which they did. They absolutely had a shot to win. And then he also played 38 minutes, had 3 assists. But we need to talk about the one play that stands out. Of course, Colin Chandler, he did not have a great game against Auburn. Sadly, he had two really bad turnovers. And then, of course, he also had the 10-second violation, which was another turnover. And then, of course, UK had that offensive foul with Colin Chandler at the end. And I couldn't believe I was like, man, like, how do the refs call that? And then I go back to the 2021-2022 season when Keon Brooks Jr. basically did the same thing against Arkansas. The refs called it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why do the refs continue to call that? Of course, like, you can say that's a foul and everything, but, like, the refs rarely ever call that, like, during the whole game until maybe like the last 1 minute, 30 seconds of the game. I'm like, if that's the foul, then like call it at the very beginning of the game like that.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to your point about Denzel Aberdeen, about him being sick and all that, like absolute warrior for him to go out and have this performance. But with the Colin play, because that's kind of there's that, and then the Pope comments and stuff are kind
Yeah.
of the things that I'll forever be able to take away from this game. So I've talked to numerous people, and I'm kind of lucky to be around a lot of like really like seasoned people when it comes to basketball. I've talked to numerous coaches since then where it's just come up in conversation where we're like what in the world was that Colin Chandler call? Every single coach is saying that is absolute bullcrap because of the way that they called the first, what was it, 39 minutes and
Minute.
42 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that was like they were throwing each other into the stand, it felt like at times in this game. And then they called that. So
Yeah.
that was one part of it. And then I've been able to talk to like guys that actually played up to college basketball and played, and they were all like, that happens every single play of any inbound ever, that there's ever pressure. And also, Kevin Overton was hugging Colin Chandler. So they
Yep.
were like, well, that's going to happen. And you've got to call it kind of both ways there. And then my takeaway, like immediately, was like, look, I love Colin Chandler as much as the next guy, but he's not the Rock. He's not throwing Kevin Overton all the
Yeah.
way into like the. It was very obviously a flop, very
Flop. It
very
was
obviously a flop.
for
And
sure.
you can do the screenshots and all that where Kevin Overton almost has his hands touching all the way around Colin. He's like falling before the shove, and yes, Colin extended, but that is an absolutely ridiculous call. And,
Yeah.
and I hate. I feel like I'm the first guy to ever say like it should never be in the ref's hands. Like you should be able to win a game and have it kind of separated at that point anyways. But I mean that's one that I completely understand Pope in that. And then
Yeah.
after that, I think it was Jack and Zach that were there, and they had said that like Pope didn't even really watch the final throwdown to Malley, and that they just kind of like Pope just stared down. I think it
Yeah.
was Courtney Green was the ref, and it
Courtney
was
Green.
just
Yeah.
it was just terrible. That call was absolutely awful. And everybody,
Yeah.
like I will say, I just tuned into Field of 68 that night just because I wanted to hear their thoughts on that. Rob Doster was like, "That's an absolutely abysmal call, absolutely awful. I hate to see guys get rewarded for flopping, and then you make these calls like this, and it just incentivizes flopping even more."
Mhm.
Everybody in the country was outraged except for Auburn fans.
Yeah.
Good for them. You got your win. I mean they needed it bad, but like,
Yeah.
dude, it us getting in a way cheated for it. It
Yeah.
just kind of stinks.
Yeah, and then I read a theory online. Of course, you can't prove the theory, but I mean, it makes sense. Like SEC, they tell these refs, like, we need Auburn to really win this game so they can get actually into the NCAA tournament because the more teams that we get into the NCAA tournament from the SEC, the more money that we get. So, I read that theory online, which, it could be true. I don't think it's necessarily true. Of course, like the SEC would love to get 12, 14, maybe even the whole conference, 16 teams in there, but more than likely every year you're going to at least get 10 or more SEC teams in the NCAA tournament because of how big the SEC is and everything. I mean, UK had to face off against Tennessee in the Sweet 16 last year, which would normally never really happen if the SEC just didn't have 16 teams in there. And then I think we had 14 overall that made it, including like the first four playing games last year. So, I mean, normally that would never happen. Like you would never see, an SEC team versus an SEC team in the Sweet 16, maybe in the Elite Eight or Final Four, but usually like probably never in the third round, I feel like.
Yeah, there was 14. I was trying to remember the exact number. Yeah, 14 teams. I'm trying
Yeah,
to think of who missed. LSU and
South Carolina,
South Carolina. Yes, those
probably.
were the two that missed.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it was WT that tweeted it out after, and he had said like, "Hey, Auburn fans, are you actually like even proud of this win because of how it kind of ended right there?" Um, and I mean, there's no shame in their game. I saw one comment that said, "Yes, of course we are." But to your point about like maybe that is a thing that they're like, "All right, we kind of need like them to win if it gets close, and you can make a certain call." But also, I feel like the SEC, like the SEC in football is much better off financially and clicks wise and all this stuff when like Alabama, LSU, Georgia, when those teams are good. When Kentucky is good, I think everybody in the country can kind of agree like that from what I've seen, even people that hate Kentucky, they're like, well, the sport's better when Kentucky's good. The SEC is also much more respected. Like if
yeah,
this was happening to Duke in the ACC and Duke is like the 9 seed and they're getting cheated out of a game at like Wake Forest, then I don't think that's good for the conference. Like you need to have
yeah,
like one big brand kind of at the top of it, and I don't know. So I don't know if that's actually a thing. If they're kind of like if they call it in before and they're like, hey, if it gets close there at the end, you can make a judgment call and flip
yeah,
it towards Auburn's way. Then maybe. But now I guess we can dive into what followed that because after that, it was the absolute. I mean, incredible block by
yeah.
Mo
By
D.
Cody,
And
but
as soon as he did that, I stood up and I was like, "Yeah, baby!" And then there's another rebound. They
yeah,
missed, and I was like, "Yeah!" And then there was another rebound, and
rebound.
Brandon Garrison
Yep,
hadn't moved. Um, and they just get the tip in. And of course, it's the guy, Elijah Freeman, that we actually go after a
right.
little bit in the portal. And
Yeah,
it just, you couldn't make it up, man. It was
yeah,
literally, and unfortunately, the rule of 71 worked again. Like, as
yeah.
soon as they hit 71, I was like, they're going to hit some bull crap, and they're just going to end up getting
Yeah.
out of here with a win.
I still don't know how though the Auburn player that got the ball after the block shot, like how he missed that bunny. Like I know he rushed the shot and that's probably why he missed it because he probably didn't know how much time was left on the buzzer, to get it off and everything. So he definitely rushed that shot and then of course Elijah Freeman, he got the tip in for Auburn that eventually made Auburn win the game. Of course, Colin Chandler had that full court pass that basically, it didn't get tipped or like it didn't get stolen, but an Auburn player hit it. Malachi Marino could never get the ball, up quick enough for a jump shot. And of course, UK lost that game. But I mean, Mo Diabate, yeah, he got that block and everything. I guarantee if that Auburn player didn't go down to the floor after the block and everything, he would have had a chance to get that rebound. Like, of course, the refs are all about player safety and everything. They're not going to call, stoppage of play if a player is down on the ground with 5 seconds or less because, like, they're not going to call stoppage, because that could lead to Auburn having another timeout or, Kentucky having another timeout for another defensive stop. Like everybody was saying that there should have been a stoppage of play. And like that's not going to happen during that case, during that situation with just a little bit of time left. And like you were saying, Brandon Garrison, he was just, ball watching the whole time. But at the end of the day, like really, Mo Diabate or BG couldn't really make a play because of that one Auburn player being on the ground, sadly. And I wish we could have gotten that rebound or, after Diabate got that block, like be able to get that rebound and then get fouled and make free throws and win the game.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, that situation is just tough where there's a guy on the ground, but like you'll see it so many times throughout the entire country because people were taught this way because of like how you should be able to kind of understand, especially as a junior. when you're Brandon Garrison, like I know he like his one thing that he's probably going out there is like I can't foul. That's the one thing I can't
Mhm.
do, which is true. But I think if you meet the ball at a tie point and just tip it out as far as you possibly can, that's what people were taught now. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
like awareness, know the time and place and everything. And you know that they're shooting a shot with only a couple seconds left. Like
yeah,
once that ball comes off, you just need to do everything in your power to absolutely just send it all the way
yeah,
to the other end of the court. So then if it does go out and there's still time remaining, then they're going from that end. They're
yeah,
not sitting there point blank range getting a tip in. And it adds to like I will never, just bash some kids and stuff. Like
mhm,
I know Brandon Garrison's older and but gosh, he's got some of the worst clips in the world just in this season alone. The
yeah,
Michigan State one will forever be engraved in my brain. This
yeah,
one is also going to because there's so many different angles of him just literally like standing there and just watching and
mhm,
just hoping that it doesn't go in. And I just don't understand why that wasn't the mindset. Like Modi was literally because I don't even think unless my brain is just messed up. I don't even think he was on ball. He just kind of like just kind of new personnel wise that like they're not going to kick it here. They're just going to try to get downhill, maybe try to
yeah,
draw a foul or something. So then he just kind of digs and swats one away.
yep,
He did an incredible job, and then nobody else was able to kind of
yeah.
do their job
Well,
on that play.
Well, to be fair, it was Diabate's man that technically scored the last basket with Elijah Freeman. Like that was technically his man, but people of course blamed, Brendan Garrison because he didn't even try to go after the ball. He was just more like walking around, like looking up at the ball to see where, the ball was at. And I was surprised that Auburn didn't attack the mismatch whenever it happened because whoever Denzel Aberdeen was guarding, of course, it was a guy that had the second, attempt where he just missed it because he rushed the shot. But I was like, man, they should just go after Aberdeen because, they have the mismatch. They never did. And, the mismatch missed that shot. And like I said, Freeman got that board and tipped it in for the win.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of looking back at it just to see. BG, I will say he put some effort in that I did not notice on trying to swat it, I guess, before. So I think it was after the first rebound. But yeah, to your point, that was Modi's man, Elijah Freeman. He tried to swat it out of Keyshawn Murphy's hands, and then they come in, and unfortunately, Elijah Freeman, great athlete, jumps over Colin Chandler and Modi there at the end, and
Yeah.
it's terrible like positioning. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand like if anything, you can argue like an over the back call or something. Like if you're sitting there and you're like under the rim at that point, um, I don't know, man. It's
Yeah.
just they're shooting the ball at it leaves what was that Pettiford or Overton? It leaves his hands at like four. Like you just
Yeah.
got to know like okay, Tom is our friend right here. Just get the ball away,
Yep.
and yeah, they missed the bunny,
Yep.
which was kind of the one flaw. I think that was Keyshawn Murphy that missed that. Um, and yeah, that was the one flaw he had all night. It felt like, but yeah, really unfortunate. That last play is just absolutely brutal.
Yep.
This team has figured out every possible way to lose a
Wait.
game this year too. Like
Yep.
this was kind of the one box we hadn't checked where we lost on a buzzer beater, and we do it. We figured out a
Yeah.
way to get that done.
Hey, we also have found a way, every single way to win a game as well.
Yeah, yeah. This team is literally like. I know the name for a while was like the Cardiac Cats, but it's literally just like the unpredictables. Like that might be
Yeah.
the best name for them because they've won in every single way and they've also lost in every way. They've done anything that like they've done things that I've just never seen a basketball team do, good and bad, and it's brutal. This team is like it's not like they're hard to watch. It's like just anything's on the table, and it just kind of stinks because you can't go into any place and be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this we're just gonna cruise through. Because I honestly thought the Auburn game was one where it was like, you know what, like, and especially they had the chance there early in the second half where they could kind of put their foot on the throat and run away with it, and that ended up just not being the case.
Yeah, you're right about that. And then, of course, basically after Auburn scored, you mentioned earlier where Mark Pope was just given the death stare to Courtney Green basically after that. And then right before UK, of course, inbounded the ball, Colin Chandler tried to, like I said, have that full court pass to Malachi Marino. That sadly didn't happen. But yeah, I saw the clip from Stephen Peak's YouTube channel, KSR's YouTube channel, where, Peak always does that after every game, especially like the road trips where, they just do a recap from the game, the highlights from the lowlights and everything. But it was just funny to see Mark Pope just staring at Courtney Green, like staring into his soul, saying, "You messed up. Like you messed up that call, and it's going to cost us a win." Of course, UK, of course, did not lose that game because of that one single call. Like many people can blame the refs and all you want on that, but whenever you're up 9 points, like you have to figure out a way to win that game. And UK didn't. Like they struggled on the offensive side and could not get anything going.
Yeah, that it's obviously tough because I think they had kind of looked back through the games that Courtney Green had ref under Mark Pope, and we were actually like undefeated in them. So that's what made the comments and everything kind of shocking at the end. And I don't think refs ever take anything too personal unless you start getting to actual stuff. But like I do kind of wonder if Courtney Green comes away from this like, dang, dude, like I wasn't trying to screw you or anything. Like it was one call and maybe I couldn't have made it, but then the way that it kind of blew up, I'm curious kind of what Courtney Green's thoughts are on it. Like, I don't know. It was like you mentioned, the stare at the end was crazy. And then he says all these different things to describe what happened, where he said it's personal, it's
Yeah,
unprofessional, and I don't even remember all the phrases he used, but basically saying everything but the refs suck, and I mean he still got fined for it, but like yeah, I'm just curious kind of what Courtney Green's perspective is from that picture, which was crazy,
yeah.
but it was just a wild ending.
Yep, and then of course Mark Pope walked off after the game, and you said, Mitch, if those people, I won't say the explicit, but tried to find me,
You can say MFers.
I don't want to, man.
Well,
But he
no,
says,
we would never say the actual word, but
yeah, tried to find me, screw them. I did not say a word about how they treated us. And then, of course, with that comment, and then he also mentioned in the press conference that, sometimes I feel like, they have something personally against us talking about the refs. He didn't say exactly like that, but the league office, the SEC, they decided to actually fine Mark Pope today with a $25,000 fine, which I thought was going to happen because, like you can't get away from saying like, they take it personally. Like even though he didn't say the refs, you can't say that. And then of course, what you said at the end of the press conference, walking into the tunnel with Mitch Barnhart and everything, that comment, like, of course, that's going to give you a $25,000 fine, and that's what happened with him.
yeah, yeah. I would never say the actual word, but
Yeah,
I could kind of yeah say what Pope had said. So I think Pope definitely knew that was going to happen for multiple
yeah,
reasons. Well, he also to start, he knows how insane BBN is. Like we could figure out a something he says that he says while he's drinking coffee in the morning. We could probably figure it out somehow. So he does that. He walks just right through the door and then says it. So that's one thing where I'm like, he definitely knew that like people are going to hear that because he's literally just steps away from where tons of media are. So that reason. And then he also like I hate to burst people's bubble. Pope does cuss.
yeah,
That's kind of a world that but I think he also definitely knew because he didn't cuss in that situation. And there's still not like times where he's cussed out openly to the media where it's on video and stuff. Like, yeah, he'll say it behind the scenes and in practice and stuff. So that's another reason. Or I think he said I don't know if he said MFers or mother effers or something, but he said something like that to where he like wasn't actually cussing.
yeah,
And then so that's another reason why I'm like he 1000% knew exactly what he was doing.
yeah,
Um, but honestly, I don't know. I need your thoughts on this too. As soon as I saw that he actually got fined, I was like, well, dang, that's kind of tough. I mean, I expected that he probably would, but
yeah,
he did try to avoid as much as possible. But honestly, I took it as a good thing because I was like, this team just needs a shot in the arm of just something to get things back on the right track. Like the South Carolina game, we've just got to figure out a way to win it, and
yeah,
that fine could be fuel to the fire and
yeah,
say like, dang man, we're down right now, and then they want to find our coach like maybe it's a little like little shot in the arm just to kind of get things juiced up and get these guys rolling. So I didn't mind the fine and 25K for a guy
yeah.
with Pope's salary isn't necessarily the
No.
most heartbreaking thing in the world. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the fine. I think it's gonna be good for us.
Yeah, I sure hope it'll be good, and hopefully it'll like light a fire under the team because this team really needs it right now. They are on a 3-game losing streak, and right now, like the two main players that are sticking out for Kentucky right now, it's Denzel Aberdeen and Otega Oweh. Like, of course, Cullen Chandler really stood out in the Georgia game. where he started out 6 for 7 from the 3-point line. Of course, ended 6 for 10. But Colin Chandler, he had one of his worst games in a while against Auburn. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, he had those two turnovers earlier in the game in the second half where he was trying to throw the ball down to Malachi Marino. One time where Marino wasn't even prepared for the pass. The second time, the defense just picked it off. And then, like I said, he had another 10-second violation. And then, that offensive foul at the end. And, like if Colin Chandler just steps up a little bit more during the Auburn game, UK probably wins this game. For Colin Chandler, he had only 10 points, 3 for 8 from the field, and 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. I forgot to mention he also had that one, deep three near half court during that second half, and that was, I think, right after the two turnovers. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I know you can shoot it from deep, but I felt like that was a little bit too far out of its range. So we just need the old Colin Chandler back, I feel like, for Kentucky if Kentucky actually wants to make a deep run in the SEC and the NCAA tournaments.
Yeah, I don't think I'm like wrong when I say Colin had absolutely figured it out. He had scored double digits in 7 of his last 9 games. And one of the games that he didn't score double digits, he had 9 in, and it was the second Tennessee game where he had the clutch 3 late. So he had kind of worked himself into that backcourt that you were talking about that's kind of stepped up big time in the absence of some of these guys with injuries. He was incredible down this long stretch. And you mentioned the Georgia game. He was good in the Florida game. He was good in the Oklahoma game. Like there was just like
Mhm.
whether it was threes, getting to the rim, like he was kind of just doing whatever was needed to be able to help win. So I was falling in love with him. This game, it felt like there's a tough line that he needs to be able to find between like forcing like shots up and forcing things that aren't necessarily there and the Colin Chandler that's not getting enough looks. Like the Colin Chandler that goes 6 for 7 from three, everybody's like, well, dude, he's got to get more touches. He's got to get more looks and stuff, which I think can be true. But when you go into this one and you go just shot chucking a little bit and you go 1 for 6 and some of those threes are not good. It felt like there was a little he went like past the confidence part where it was like he's super confident in shorter like possessions, shorter like shot opportunities. Like obviously in the Georgia game, they end up getting him 10 shots because he was just on a roll. But he starts that one out and he gets like a certain amount. It felt like in this one, even though it wasn't the most that he's taken, it felt like he tried to force a lot more. Like there was
Yeah.
some shots that he was taking in this one where I was like, that's not you, Colin. Like that's not the Colin that we had like seen in this last little stretch of like the past month or so. And it was just disappointing because it was like you said, Denzel Aberdeen, even through the sickness, absolute warrior mentality. He went out there and balled out. Otega Oweh had his career high. They had both been really good. Aberdeen was kind of the unspoken hero for a long time.
Mhm.
So I'm glad some people gave him some love for this one.
Yeah.
But Colin was that other third piece where it was like this team is going to be fine. Like and Maui was figuring it out, and both those
Mhm.
guys ended up not having the best game. I mean, they were not great. But I will say like we didn't necessarily touch on this, but I want to mention it because I'm talking about Colin. So out of the starters, Colin was the only guy that was in the negative. And now this is
Yeah.
about as bad as a game that I think you could see Colin play. Very, very, it's an outlier, but for sure. The rest of them were all positive
Yeah.
in the box score plus minus. That's what stands out to me because the substitutions are such a big problem. And
Mhm.
and the fact that you can see Colin play that bad and have a -3, and some of these other guys come in and play fully energized
Yeah.
and not tired at all. And they'll be, and I know box score plus minus is opinionated on how much it actually matters,
Yeah.
but to me, it's a great indicator of like what the impact for certain players is. Um, and it was just the bench was not able to
Yeah.
provide a whole lot, and it's not like the starting five is just going to have to like just play like the 98 Bulls every single night, but they're going to need some like help, and they'll be really good while they're in there, like they were in this one. Um, but it's just a tough look, like the substitution pattern that people continue to complain about. We'll
Mhm.
have a lead, we'll put different
Yeah.
people in, we'll blow the lead, and we'll allow a run right away. And
Mhm.
just a very tough situation. So, like you said, Colin, not
Yeah.
his best game, but
Yeah.
I still thought he was better than some of the alternatives. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I hear you. And just talking a little bit about the bench, like everyone did have a negative that came in, but the one player that stands out sadly, and I don't want to throw any player under the bus, but Jasper Johnson, he only played in 2 minutes and he had a -6. Like, I just don't understand like how you can come in and just play 2 minutes and get a -6. Like I can't understand if you're maybe at like a -1 or two in 2 minutes or so, like Auburn scores a free throw while you come in, or like they get another basket, but just to play 2 minutes and to have a -6, like I feel like that's crazy.
Yeah, that's obviously very, very bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, not trying to throw anybody on the bus, but those are the situations that like I mean, I hate to talk about offseason stuff already. Like he's certainly gone.
Yeah. Sadly.
And it kind of stinks, but it just hasn't worked out. Like offensively, it feels like he hasn't necessarily fit in at times. And then
Mhm.
even though I think at some point wherever he transfers or if he ends up staying and shocks us with that, I think he's going to be a really, really good offensive player one day. But his defense is so, so, so far behind
Yep.
that it literally makes it to where you can't play him. And
Mhm.
and that's the kind of the backbone of this team is like make a team have to fight for everything that they get because this team is not going to be able to put up 100 points. Like it's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. So we're going to have to win these games in the 70s, maybe high 60s and stuff with a
Yeah.
lot of teams. And this is, I mean, it just wasn't his type of game. Like he just could not fit in. And also Trent Noah was the other one that kind of
Yeah.
stood out in that where he had two good looks,
Yeah.
missed them both. And I saw some hateful stuff on the line that I won't repeat or anything,
I
but
did
yeah,
too.
yeah. Not the best night, I would say for the Noah family if you're scrolling Twitter, but
Yeah.
uh,
The
yeah. Honestly, I think he still figures out ways to impact the game
yeah.
without scoring. But his role, we just have to have shots fall when you
Yeah.
have good
Hey,
looks.
hey.
That's
As John Calipari used to say, you can't make them all, but you can't miss them all.
Yeah. You don't have to make them all, but you just can't miss them all. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the classic. But like I said, I mean, he figures out a way to impact games.
Yeah.
Still, obviously, far from the best defender we've ever seen, but
Yeah.
he's figured it out to where like he's at least serviceable, I would say, defensively, and
Yeah.
um and so that's kind of one thing. The one thing he always will bring, which we don't really need as much this year, is last year he would bring the Trent Noah that would like go get a long rebound just
Yep.
because he's like smart enough to know like, oh well, that shot's coming from there. I know it's coming off this way or whatever, and he'd just go do that. We don't necessarily need that this year because we
Yeah.
recruited guys that are pretty good at that and brought those guys in.
Hmm.
So not saying Trent Noah is not valuable to the team, but
Yeah.
like we're gonna need some shots to fall,
Yep.
and the Cal quote is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, perfect way. And I only laugh about your comment about, people, attacking Trent Noah online. I just laughed because I saw a post where I think like the Kentucky like wildlife and boat show is going on or whatever, and Trent Noah went out to a KSP post on their social media handle that they were, hanging out with them or whatever, and then I just saw tweets about it. It made my day. It's just like, of course, like they weren't nothing like, I mean, they were a little harsh, I guess, but I felt like it was for good fun though, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I don't think I saw that honestly.
Yeah.
But here I'll mention one that was not super bad. It was just a funny meme. Credit to whoever it was on Twitter. I don't remember who it was. But if you're a SpongeBob fan, then you probably remember Man Ray. I don't know if you saw this tweet. Kind of funny. He pulled up the ID, says, "You are Trent Noah." Yes. "You are a shooter, correct?" Yes. "So it's your role to come in off the bench and make shots." Makes sense to me. "We need you to make your wide open 3-pointers." 0 for 2. That was
Okay.
kind of the story of it. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, man. Like that's what you need to be on this team. Um, and it just stinks because like, yes, I know Cam was the other kind of counterpart to like the snipers that were going around on the Noah Arc system and practice and stuff and shooting 9,000% or something crazy with whatever they were shooting. But
Yeah.
Trent Noah was one of those, and it's just got to translate at some point. I know it's like big time road environments, and Neville Arena is not the easiest place to play, but come on, man. Like you've just got to be able to knock down a couple,
Yeah.
especially when
I
you
hear
get
you.
those looks. And I do feel like at times, I don't know necessarily if there's any that stand out to me in this one, but at times I feel like he's too passive. Where maybe that should have been a shot that goes up, or you should have shot that one, or let the
Mhm.
first one fly. And I don't necessarily know if there was any that stand out in this one, but at times that's also been a problem where I'm like, look, man, I would still rather Trent Noah be shooting a wide open three
Yeah.
than Mo Diabate push shot at the end of a shot clock or something like.
Hmm.
There's just sometimes that I wish he would shoot it a little bit
Yeah.
more. But obviously, unfortunate unfortunate game for
Mhm.
two of the three of the
Yeah.
kids from Kentucky.
Yeah, and then I felt like just going back a little bit, I just felt like during the Arkansas game, like UK, like everybody played free during that game compared to the Auburn game. Like, yeah, like the second half started off great, getting up nine, but then after that, like I just felt like, the players started to play let's loose against Auburn. Granted, it was because Auburn's defense was starting to be suffocated with Kentucky's offense, where it was hard for Kentucky to get good looks. But it felt like during that Arkansas game, everybody just played freely, like had no worries. Of course, Trent Noah had that three, and then like he did like the silencer, yeah, during the Arkansas game. So you just need players to be able to play freely, not be worried about getting benched or something that could go wrong during the game. Like we need more games like we had against Arkansas compared to Auburn, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. That Trent Noah is what elevates this team to like a second weekend team comfortably to me. Like that Trent Noah is the one that like you look at and you say, yeah, this team could end up getting maybe a six seed, and
Yeah,
they could end up winning a couple. Um, Obviously now at this point, like with all these losses and stuff, it's gonna be very tough. But
yeah,
whatever happened before that Auburn game, whether it was a certain or but what before the Arkansas game, whatever it was, whether it was a certain speech, whether it was like something that they did in game prep, let's just do that every single
yeah,
game because that was like you said the most free that we looked, and that's the game that you should probably in hindsight, I can definitely say this now, but like that's the game you should probably feel the most pressure. Like that's the
yeah,
school you play for, the former coach, Hall of Famer over on the other sideline. There's guys that committed to UK that
yep,
decommitted, and all these different like all the eyes are on you. You're not supposed to win that. There's a ton of pressure still. Like
yeah,
whatever we did in that one, I don't know. I don't remember if there was anything in particular that they did differently, but like that's just got to happen. And
yep,
there's been so many games. And I don't remember who. I think it was. I don't know if it's Tay or Ty Wonder or something. It's T Wonder is like his Twitter. I think it was him
yeah,
that pointed out, and he had taken a screenshot of so many different games. This was another one, the Auburn game where we had a great lead, and we're so close. And there was
yeah,
like four different wins where if you just win those then you're in a situation where you're what are we right now? We're 17 and 10.
10,
Then you're 21 and 6,
yeah,
and you're in a completely different situation.
yeah, definitely in a completely different situation. You're talking about, I'm looking at his tweet right now, but you're talking about UNC, Missouri, and Georgia, like all those games where UK could have won, and then of course Auburn. So completely different picture. If you win those four games, you're 21 and 6, and probably, probably in the top 10 at worst, top 15 in the AP, top 25 too.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like a completely different world that you're
Yeah,
looking at, and it's simple too. Like it's not even that you're. It's not like, oh man, we just should have just won those games. Like those are games that you were up and had a decent lead in,
yeah,
and down the stretch you just end up choking it away. The Georgia one, I mean, it was kind of you led in the first half, took your foot off the gas, and then they just ran off
yeah,
and ran away from you. But yeah, it's just really unfortunate that we added another loss to the column that is just one that just absolutely stinks because feels like we choked it away. Obviously, the column play late ends up kind of looking like we're sore losers, but
yeah.
kind of got cheated in a way. But shouldn't have been in that situation anyways.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't have. But a couple of other things I want to bring up about the Auburn game. I don't know if you saw the Kentucky men's basketball pictures like before the Auburn game, but like, you never know like for sure, if it was a bad angle or anything. But in a picture of with Mark Pope, it looked like he was just like sad, mad, or like angry, whatever it might be, or having anxiety, and it looked exactly like he did during the Michigan State game. Like, of course, it wasn't a video the Kentucky men's basketball team had. It was only a picture of him going to the arena, and then, of course, Colin Chandler in another photo. But it reminded me of the Michigan State game where he just looked defeated, like going into the game. And I could be reading it completely wrong, but like I hope he's doing okay and everything because, of course, he also had that comment earlier in the season where, I won't say the first part of the quote, but where he was like, I just want to, lay in my bed sometimes as well.
Yeah. I will say I brought that up to one of the guys that I respect like as much as anybody in the world when it comes to basketball. Played under him, coached under him. I brought that up to him, and he said, "Man, sometimes our fan base really just sucks." And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of what that picture." Like I saw your tweet, and I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of what that picture indicates to me. That like." I know he feels the pressure on himself just because he respects and holds this job so high. But like I can't even imagine the things that are said. Like our fan base
Yeah.
is the best and the worst in the entire country because
Yep.
like I saw somebody tweet yesterday, and my buddy sent it over that it was like, yeah, we kind of do deserve this. We sit here and do all these different things and we kind of bash these guys and curse one of our own, and
Hmm.
that's the situation that we're in because of that. Like there's got to be some like patience. And I get it's the NIL era and the transfer portal era where things need to happen right away, but um I guess I can just mention this now. I was going to bring this up later, but like I know it's going way back, and like I said, it's a much different era. But Joby Hall, his first year goes 20-8, second year goes 13-13,
Yeah.
third year goes 26-5, makes the Final Four. Like
Yeah.
it
26
can
and 5.
change very quick, and that was a much different era, much harder to figure it out
Yeah.
in. Like give Pope some time. Like people are way too quick to want
Hmm.
to just get him out, and that's what I think that is. Like whether you want to say, whether you want to be like John Calipari and say like, oh, I don't pay attention to the clutter, I don't listen to it. Like it's still going to get through, get there on your desk, get
Yeah.
there. Like you're going to get the emails, you're going to get like our fan base sucks sometimes, and that's what
Yep.
those pictures said to me. Where I was like, dang, I really really feel bad for him. Like it's just, I mean, obviously he's a religious man, so things are
Yeah.
much more important to him than basketball. But he holds this job very, very high,
Yep. Right.
and it's affecting his life big time.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of tell it from that picture. And I don't know, I don't want to be, I got to overreact to the picture, but the Michigan State one is actually a video of him walking. And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, this doesn't look good. And then the comments after the Michigan State game, you mentioned the other comments that happened later on.
Yeah.
I do just feel bad. Like I
Yeah.
really do. Like nobody's ever wanted a coach to work out more than Kentucky fans want Mark Pope to work out. Like
Yeah.
I know that some people want to feel validated and they were mad about the hire when it first happened, but give the hire a chance, give him a couple of years and let him see if he can figure it out. Maybe this year is just a down year. And he's proven time and time again, maybe inbounds is the flaw of his, but the guy can coach basketball with the best
Yeah.
of them. And that's what everybody in the entire country thinks about him.
Hmm.
Just give the guy a chance and stop all the
Yeah.
hating. Like it doesn't, people like online sometimes just sucks because people will say things that they would never actually say in person, and that's what I feel like it is. They're saying so many different things,
Yeah.
and they have no idea what the situation is. And I know we're not experts by any means, but we're at least trying to be cautious about things that we say. Like we said, we would never bash players and stuff, but people were so quick to make extremely hateful comments and extremely hateful videos and everything towards certain people. Give it time. Like
Yeah.
Kentucky will be back on top of the sport. And I saw a tweet the other day, and I completely agree. I think it was Saturday, and it said all the bad luck that's piled up for Kentucky over the years is going to end up evening out, and the country is going to hate it when it does, and that's going to happen.
Hmm.
We're going to be fine. I
Yeah.
get that we're in a drought right now, all this stuff, but with Mark Pope and that whole situation and all these guys, like mentally, you can say you're trying to block it out, but it'll always get through, and you'll hear it. So people have got to chill out,
Yeah.
and yeah, we're praying for Pope. I will say, like,
Yeah.
I hope that he's doing well.
Hmm.
There's obviously, I mean, right now, not going to mention like why, but mental health is a really big like thing
Yeah.
in the sports world right now.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I just hope he's doing well because
Yeah.
those pictures.
Yeah, for me, that's the one thing for me for the new year. Like, I really want to be like more kind and more sweet because I know like I was calling for Mark Pope to be fired after like UK got down by like 18 points against LSU. I wrote, I put out the article about how much it would be for a buyout during the LSU game. Of course, Kentucky came back and won, but for me, I want to be more kind and nicer. I'm not going to try to call for Embry's job anymore. Like I'm trying to actually be, nicer, not attack anybody online or anything and, not call for anybody's job because now looking back at it, I feel bad for, like, publishing that article whenever UK was down like 18 points against LSU. And like I said, they came back and won. But, like I want the best for Mark Hope and I want him to be successful here. I want any coach to be successful at UK or anywhere overall.
Yeah, and I get that like it's a natural instinct to like put out that article and stuff. But I will say like at least for you, like from what I've seen and everything, like you've not put out stuff that is near as bad as what some people have put out. And I know there was the article last summer that like I mean I think that was pretty informative. I think that one's fine, but there's some articles where I'm like, that is literally just for clicks, and that may hurt somebody and hurt an individual. And
Yeah,
I'll always have a ton of respect for I can't remember who the exact journalist was at the time, but um with the whole Chris Lofton situation, it's just fresh on my mind because I just watched a documentary. But Chris Lofton goes through that entire thing where he has the all that come out before his senior year, and they hold all of that just for his own safety and his own peace, that they don't put out all this information and stuff. And like that's the type of thing, like, yes, journalism is people's lives and they need to, like, sometimes clicks really do matter, but
yeah,
at time, like clicks aren't worth like messing up somebody else's life.
yeah.
Like these are still humans. People feel emotions whether they want to say they do or not, and
Hmm.
that's kind of just where I feel like I don't think, like I'll be honest. I don't think Mark Pope is like doom scrolling Twitter or TikTok.
Yeah,
Don't think that's the situation that we're in at all. But he definitely hears,
yeah,
and is he's got young girls, one still in high school. Like they're gonna see some stuff.
yeah,
Um, and I've actually tried to look when I've seen like Layla pop up on my Twitter, and I'll look in the comments and I'll be like, all right, let me make sure there's absolutely nothing like hateful on these, because like
yeah.
she has no impact on what her dad is coaching.
No,
So I hope that that's not ever the case, but gosh, man, it's just it's
yeah.
sad. It's sad to see kind of the world that we live in, and yeah, I just hope Mark Pope's doing all right, because I
Yep.
did see your post and I was like, dang, this really sucks.
Yep. And then of course people were attacking me online saying like I hate when people would try to like, get all sweet or whatever. I forgot what people said, but I know had people attacking me online for that tweet though.
Hey, people would attack you for a
Yeah.
Bible verse, man. It's just like
Yep.
you just gotta, yeah, look past it. I'm at the
Yeah.
point that like I'll just tweet stuff sometimes, and like if it's doing pretty well, once I know that there's gonna be like decent engagement, I'm gonna get some really hateful comments on there, and I
Yeah.
just won't be reading them. Like
Yep.
I'll glance at them, and I'll read like first couple words, and if I know it's a UK fan kind of saying something, I'll conversate with them and all that. But if it's
Yeah.
just like a hateful comment, it's just absolute nonsense and not any, like, it's literally just a waste of your time. It's
Yeah.
and also, I've heard, I think Matt Jones say this. I've heard many people at ESPN say it, that like if they're going out of their way to comment something hateful
Mhm.
about something that you said, or just hateful in general online, then there's more going on behind the scenes
Yeah.
with their life. So yeah, the retaliation is never an option. Even though
Yeah.
I've caught myself doing it at times, and I'll kind of go back in hindsight and be like, well, I shouldn't have said that. I
Yeah.
will kind of pivot from that, not make that a reality
Yep.
going forward. But it's just it's the sad part of
Yeah.
online and social media and everything is awesome, but there's obviously
Mhm.
some very tough parts to it.
Yeah, for sure. There's only one other thing I really want to talk about, and we can get into like score predictions and all that for South Carolina. But I just want to talk about, do you think Kentucky should get a GM? I really do think they need to get a GM. Like in football, we have two GM positions. We got, main GM and then of course the assistant GM in Kentucky football since Will Stein has taken over as the head coach, and I love it. And I really think, UK should do exactly the same thing as football. Maybe if you can't get two GMs, get, of course, at least one. Get the GM that can negotiate the deals, like figure out ways, to have stuff in their contracts. Like, for instance, with the Jaden Quayton situation, I don't know if he's going to get the whole however much he's getting, like the rumor number is like 2.5 million. Like, is he going to get all that money even though he only played in like 2 or 3 games for UK? Like, I just want, a GM that can, figure out deals, how much they should pay for a player, and then of course, add stuff in their contract saying like, hey, if you do this, like if you're late to practice, that's like $100,000 out, maybe not late for one practice, but like overall being late for
Yeah, I was about
practice.
to say, dang, dude.
But you get my point. Like,
No, I get what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, have contracts and all that. Like, I really want that going on in the future, and that's what I really want for Mark Pope is to get a GM this upcoming offseason. Maybe it's too late, to get a GM for the transfer portal for this upcoming year, but have it all set for them to take over this spring, and then come next year we can get all these transfer portals or high school recruits coming in.
Yeah, 1000%. And I, as much as the next guy, miss the world where there's um the head coach of a high Division 1 team going to have dinner at their mom's house and have the best country fried chicken in the world, and they go recruit them in that way. That's long gone. Like
Yeah.
it's far from that. And we're in a world where, and credit to them, shout out to them, kind of giving them a free plug or whatever. But the Field of 68 did an interview with Matt Jones, and that's where I've like kind of just like taken a lot of information because those dudes, Rob Doster, Jeff Goodman, like they are in tune with every single top program in the entire
Yeah.
country. And the way that they talked about it was pre NIL and pre transfer portal and all this was like that was the world where you could live in where it was still kind of old fashioned recruiting in a way. It had changed a little bit, but it was still
Hmm.
just going to recruit like normal. But nowadays, now that there's money involved, like ball coaches are ball coaches and
Yeah.
GMs are supposed to be kind of the front office. Like if
Yeah.
you look into the NBA, like I've said, Eric Spoelstra is not in charge of making sure Bam Adebayo is back on his team next year. Like, yeah, he
Yeah.
wants that, and he'll talk to the front office and say, like, yeah, I kind of want that.
Hmm.
But it's not up to him to sit down and make these deals happen. Like
Yeah.
he is there to coach ball. His assistant coaches are there to coach ball. The front office is there to get the players in line to be able to do
Hmm.
that. And that is exactly the world that college basketball is right now. Like
Yeah.
to have guys that are their job is to watch these guys, get these guys, and know kind of who you said that you wanted, and then also take notes of different guys that around the country that maybe would be great for the system and talk to the coaches about that, and then work with their agents because a
Yeah.
lot of times now it's not even coach to player, other than when they're on a visit and maybe they make a few calls and stuff, and they'll go watch them play and scout them a little bit. But
Hmm.
often, more than coach to player, it is agent to GM or agent to
Yeah.
assistant coach in our like perspective because that's kind of where we're at.
Yep.
It's just like it's long gone to where like it's not where it's we're just doomed forever. Like it could still be saved, but you've got to get a GM soon
Yeah.
because it's
I agree.
especially right now with the whole Stokes situation, you could still kind of salvage it a little bit, and you could probably snag him last minute because I think he honestly wants to be a Kentucky Wildcat.
Yeah.
Um,
I would
but
love.
like they don't understand the market. That's kind of where it all boils down to. Where me and you talked about it in last year's offseason. We kept getting all these dudes, and we were like, well, we just paid a whole lot of money to get Denzel Aberdeen. It's really nice because it's a combo guard, it's a backup point guard, it's a
Yeah.
shooting guard that we can have. It's a really nice thing, but like I don't know if we were supposed to. I don't know if we should have like paid all of that. Maybe we could have got somebody else, or like
Yep.
even then we were kind of like I don't know, like what's the point of this? Like why did we not throw a little extra bread and go get Donovan Dent instead of getting
Yeah.
like a Jalen Lowe Denzel Aberdeen combo? Because I don't know if you saw Donovan Dent just put up 14 and 15, beat the number 10 team in America, but
Yeah.
like I don't know where I don't know why they're so stubborn to it because Pope is
Yep.
extremely modern in everything that he does, and he's done an incredible job with all of that. But the roster construction is what it all boils down to, and
Yeah.
that's because him and his staff are putting it all on their own plate. Like they are
Hmm.
here to coach basketball, put other people in position to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
Indiana, who is kind of one of the last teams out of these like high majors that have a ton of like hope
Hmm.
and a ton of like expectation when it comes to basketball. They were kind of the last of it, and they just went and got one of the best in the entire country
Yeah.
yesterday. I don't know who we're going to get, and maybe
Hmm.
we'll talk a little bit about that, but it has to change soon.
Yeah.
We've got to do something
I
because we've got
agree.
to
It
catch up.
definitely has to change. And I know last year, like whenever Mark Pope took over, like in 2024, I believe he was trying his best to get Nazim Muhammad to take the GM position, but it didn't work out. He wanted to stay with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think he's like the GM for like their G League team or something. Like he has some title with the Thunder, whether it be with the actual Thunder or with their G League team, but he didn't want to leave his position, which, if you love your position, you're getting paid well at that position, why leave? I get it. Nazi Muhammad played at UK and everything, but, like if I was getting paid 100K and, somewhere and I was enjoying it and, I got a job offer to come back to Kentucky, let's say, but it was only for 75K, I wouldn't take that, $25,000 more to work somewhere in the US compared to, 75K in Kentucky. You get my point and everything. So hopefully, Mark Pope does figure it out. Like I said, it's probably too late to get one going into next year for, the transfer portal, but get one this spring and then, get them ready for, the high school recruitment season for the class of 2027. Then, of course, the transfer portal in, 2027 as well.
Yeah, Nadir Muhammad is the current GM of the Oklahoma City Blue and a pro scout for the Thunder. So he
Yeah.
kind of has two roles. But
Mhm.
um, Also in that interview that I was talking about with Jeff Goodman and all of them, Goodman said like, yeah, you had 22 million, and they kind of talked to Matt and Jeff kind of had an idea of it as well. Like the money's going to be not probably not 22 million, but it's going to be up there again. They're going
Yeah,
to have a real good shot. But like Jeff Goodman said, like out of that 22 million, take a million of it and pay a GM to be able to get all of this lined up.
yeah,
That is essentially what we need to do. Like we have the money and the
yeah,
resources. There's absolutely zero excuse. And all the other teams that kind of paid a lot of money and spent the most, they're doing dang well. They're absolutely killing it.
yeah,
And we're kind of the one. And I think
mhm,
it all boils down to look at
yeah,
what is behind their roster construction, and it's GMs mixed with coaches instead of just
yeah,
coaches trying to fix everything.
mhm,
Um, but I will say like not that we're too late now, but like a GM needs to be hired like the next like 48 hours, in my opinion, because like you've got to be able to watch like you've got to be able to watch these guys because like the transfer portal is opening very soon,
yeah,
and there's not a more important like 2 months in the Mark Pope era than late March,
yeah,
all of April, and early May for him
yeah,
because he's building a team that he has to put on the court next year.
mhm,
And as of right now, we've talked about it. I don't really know who is returning from this team, but if
yeah,
you return a lot of these guys, there's not going to be a whole lot of optimism.
no,
So you're going to have to kill it in the
yeah,
transfer portal, and that there's really
yeah,
no option outside of that because it's literally
mhm.
this portal class kind of dictates what your future looks like in Kentucky.
Yeah, for sure. It's basically the make or break. Of course, if Mark Pope somehow has a miraculous run in the NCAA tournament, like gets UK to the Elite Eight or Final Four, like I feel like next year will definitely be a make or break year for him. And like you've been saying, like in the previous podcast episode, that come March, April, May, those are like the three key months that Mark Pope is going to just have to be very successful for the transfer portal to make next year team work. And basically, like we've been talking about, we probably only want to keep really three players on the roster for next year with um, Colin Chandler, Cam Williams, and Malachi Marino. And then, of course, like the other players can leave if they really want to. Like, I feel like we could get a better guard than Jalen Lowe. Like, it just depends on who definitely does enter the transfer portal. But I feel like there could be a better guard than Lowe.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also, I would say maybe to add a fourth to it would be Braden Hawthorne.
Yeah,
Just because,
Brandon
I mean,
Hawthorne.
there's the unknown ceiling that we kind of have for him. But I did see, I think it was Jack Pilgrim tweeted out that like the shots pregame, he was just drilling all of them, and I was like, man, that'd be pretty nice to have right now.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I'd say yeah, four at the most. Like, and
Yeah.
everybody else, like this is Kentucky, you've got a certain standard, and you've got to recruit to that standard. Not that
Mhm.
Jalen Lowe is not good, but
Yeah.
I mean, he was the 10th ranked point guard in his class, like in the transfer class. Like you've got to go get the top of the top guys to be able to run the show.
Yeah.
Like in that interview, this is probably the last time I reference it, but um, Jeff Goodman had talked about like go get Bennett Sturts, and if you could imagine this team with
Yeah.
Bennett Sturts, oh my gosh, I mean, this team with Bennett Sturts is like a completely different world. Like this team probably has I don't know. They're probably. I know it's maybe kind of crazy, but I would say probably 22
Mhm.
and 5, 23 and 4, somewhere in that range
Yeah.
because of how good of a player he is, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have a whole lot outside of him at Iowa, but he's going to be a dang good pro, and he's going to figure it out there. And that was kind of his point was like, you have 22 million, give a million to a GM, help him like let him go figure it out, but then also just give Bennett starts like 5 million, make so much that he can't turn it down. And I know he's going to follow his coach and everything, and he followed Ben McCollum to Iowa, but like those type guys, like whether it's Donovan Dent, like Bennett starts, whatever. Like, go get that type of dude. Like, that's the
Yeah.
guys that you have to be able to go
Or
get, and we just did not.
yeah, like for instance, Donovan Dent, Lamar Wilkerson, Yoxel Lindeberg. If you get those three, I feel like Kentucky's record is a lot better and could be competing, with what Michigan has or Arizona has or Duke as well. Those are like the top three teams this year that everybody would love to be at.
Yeah, like if they had paid the guys that are worth it what they were supposed to be paid. You have Yaxel Lindenborg, who was the number one player in the portal. He's going to be, I mean, he's not going to win it, but he's going to be one of the finalists for National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Then Donovan Dent was fourth. Pay him what he's worth. That one would have been great. Obviously, we got JQ. But then I'm trying to look around to see where was Lamar Wilkerson because he was,
He probably had to be like a top five shooting guard, I feel like.
yeah, had to be. Let's see.
Looking.
I don't know where. I would have thought he'd be higher, but nonetheless, like I mean, we've obviously seen his production. He's a really really good player. Like if you pay that trio right there, I don't
Hmm.
know. I was guessing in the offseason, BYU probably paid their trio somewhere around. I was guessing probably 14 million for
Yeah,
their trio, which unfortunately Richie Saunders got hurt.
yeah,
It sucks, but that trio was really, really
yeah.
good. And we if you just take that, and
Hmm.
I know it's a different world, but like if you just take that trio and you pay that type of that level of a trio,
Hmm.
we still have 8 million to pay guys around them. Like
Yeah,
BYU, they paid that. There's not a whole lot outside of that. That's why they're able to. That's why they had to go get. I mean, they also. I mean, they got like a G League dude. It was a weird situation. Like they got one of them. Their bench is not great. They've
yeah.
got some European guys, and like they don't have a whole lot outside of that. But like if you pay that level and
Hmm.
get that type of trio, and then you're able to fill in around them with like the I don't even know the Colin Chandlers and like and you pay them what they're worth, and they're like a fourth option and a fifth option. Maybe
Yeah.
they come off the bench and like you're in a completely different you're in a national title
Hmm.
contention right
Yeah,
there, but they've got to be able to pay guys what they're worth and what
yeah,
they deserve and all that. Like I don't even know what we offered Yaxel, but we were definitely not offering him enough,
yeah.
not even close to enough.
He probably got
And
like
it
4 million at Michigan or something crazy.
I was going to say he probably got 4.5 million,
Yeah,
which is probably what I'm guessing we probably paid Oweh,
yeah,
which I think I mean he's deserved that. Like
yeah,
he's been incredible for us, but it's just I wish they kind of understood the market and what these
yeah.
guys actually are worth, and I wish they'd pay them that.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't have anything else to add about, the GM and the Auburn game. Do you want to just get into the prediction for the South Carolina game real quick, and then we can wrap the podcast up?
I know this might be on the spot, but if you had to pick one person right now to be the GM, who would you want?
Oh, I have honestly
You know,
no
I have
clue.
one in mind that I kind
Yeah,
of somebody I had seen on Twitter had tweeted about it, and I was like, you know what, that actually would be pretty cool. Dwayne Casey.
Dwayne
I mean, this is a
Casey.
dude that this is a dude that's won.
Yeah,
He can obviously coach. He can obviously play. But right now he's serving as a just a front office position with the Detroit Pistons. And the Detroit Pistons, I don't know if people know. I don't know if they are right now, but they've been like the best team in the East all
yeah,
year.
number one.
So he obviously knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
and I think he would be an incredible
Yeah.
addition to as a GM.
Yeah, of course, I know there were, a lot of people saying like he calls UK to get on probation, he calls, Eddie Sutton to get fired. But of course, a few years later, after all that came out, everybody found out, like he wasn't the cause of the issues or problems with UK, with Dwayne Casey and everything.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like I mean this isn't like saying that we don't have to like worry about who we go get, but I also think like I mean with the money that Kentucky has and the resources and everything, like I've always said, Kentucky, the logo alone gets your hat on the table with guys.
Hmm.
Um, like I'm not saying anybody could figure it out, but like I don't think you have to be like the best GM in the entire
Yeah.
planet to be able to just kind of kill it at the GM job
Yeah.
at Kentucky. So I think Dwayne Casey would be an absolute home run hire if you could be able to get that figured out.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, like I would love to see, maybe not see Mahal, but like somehow he leads the Thunder to come to Kentucky, but I don't think that'll happen. But it would definitely be interesting to see, if Mark Pope actually does get a GM, and, I would love for him to get one though.
Surely he will. And I know I said 48 hours. I mean, that's what it feels like. It feels like you just got to figure it out because
Yeah.
this portal is so important.
Yeah.
Like if
Since you
this
don't
next
have
year's a
any
flop,
recruits in the 26th class.
yeah. Yeah. That just yeah, it's just so important. So that's why I feel
Yeah.
like they got to get one like right now.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that. But do you really just want to get into the score predictions and MVP for the Georgia game, and then we'll wrap up the podcast? Or South Carolina game? I don't know why I keep thinking we're playing against South Carolina again. It's Georgia, but do you want, or South Carolina? Do you want to get into
Yeah.
that?
Yep, that'll work.
Yeah. All right. So right now, Kentucky basketball, they are 5.5 point favorites against South Carolina, and I do think UK can cover that, and I do believe that they can win. And I think they'll cover. I'm trying to see what the over/under real quick for the game is. So the over/under is 149.5. So they're expecting probably UK to get in the 80s, South Carolina in the 70s. So I'm going to go under the 149.5 though. I'll go 77, 71 UK. I think it's going to be, somewhat low scoring because, like you've been saying, like UK, for them to win this year, they have to score in the 70s or, keep teams from scoring in the 70s or 60s. Of course, UK, they can score in the 80s and 90s, but I have UK winning 77, 71 against South Carolina. And then MVP, I'll go with Colin Chandler. I feel like he's going to have a bounce back game from Auburn, and he's going to have like 18 points, 3 rebounds, and like 2 assists or something crazy like that. So give me Colin Chandler as the MVP and UK winning 77-71.
Okay, love it. I was looking at, I'm pretty sure Michi Johnson's undefeated against Kentucky. I think
Yeah,
that's kind
3
of
and
the
0.
3-0, yeah. He had 26 in that one in Rupp that ended up being just historically bad. But we get him again for his 12th year of college. And
12 years.
so, yeah, I do think the Cats go on the road and get it done. I think it's a 6.5 point favorite now. Um, South Carolina has won 3 SEC games. It's been Mississippi State, LSU, Oklahoma, some of the worst.
Yeah,
And when they've played good teams, it's not been pretty. Like they got absolutely throttled at Arkansas. They got beat by I think the exact number is 2,000 against Florida.
that.
Um, they've been rolled by everybody that they played that's been good. This is the must win of all must wins,
Yeah,
and the get right of all get rights. Like it's really really important that they go in,
yeah,
and I'm kind of at the point now that I'm like, just go win. But
yeah,
honestly, I think the only way to kind of get the fan base like, all right, well, maybe there's a way to kind of turn things around. I think the only way to do that is if you go down there and you win by like 20.
yeah.
And you that arena sucks. There's been some weird stuff happen there. But I do think Kentucky gets out with a win. I'll go 79-68
Wow, good
final.
boy.
So the Cats covering. I think they get right and they yeah, they play well tonight. You said you took Colin Chandler?
Yeah, Colin Chandler.
Okay. I'll go with I don't want to go with the obvious Oweh. I
Yeah,
feel like when we do our MVP, it's like, all right, who's going to be the MVP outside of Otega Oweh?
yeah.
Um,
It's
I'll
been
go
it's been
with
mainly Colin Chandler, Aberdeen, or Malachi Marino. It feels
yeah,
like
yeah.
up
It's kind
to
of been
nowhere.
them. Okay, I'll go for a second game in a row because it didn't necessarily happen last time. I said Malachi Marino was going to be the guy on the plains and be able to get it done. Didn't have his best game of all time. I think he comes out in this one and has a great one against a team that doesn't necessarily scare me when it comes to the front court. I think he has a big game, and Malachi Marino is my MVP for this one.
Well, hopefully, we're both right. And like you were saying, like hopefully UK can actually win in a double digit win this year. And like I said, we just desperately need a win after losing 3 straight games. And I do believe UK can actually go to, South Carolina and beat them.
Yep, I do believe it, and it's
Yeah.
a place that's been just bringing us horrors at times.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, it's kind of a big time opportunity to just go get right, and
Yeah.
you're kind of lucky at this point because we turned and halfway through the SEC schedule, it's like, yeah, Kentucky has the hardest remaining schedule in the entire country. Now
Hmm.
you've had this 3 game skid and 2 of the 3 that you shouldn't have lost, but
Yeah.
now you have a chance to go get right, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a blessing to not have to worry about like playing Vandy right now or
Yeah.
playing at A&M right now. You have an opportunity to go play the team that's worst in the
Mhm.
conference,
Yep.
and go get a win against them.
Yeah, for
Or no,
sure.
they're no, I apologize. LSU is worse in the conference. They're
Yeah.
tied for second to worst.
Yeah, second towards their tie. Hopefully, though, UK can at least get to the 20 win mark before the SEC tournament. I feel like if you get to 20 wins overall for your in the not in the SEC, but overall, if you're in the SEC, if you get to 20 wins like on the year, like I feel like you're getting into the NCAA tournament no matter what. 20 and 11. Of course, you wish you could have a better year than that in the regular season, but 20 wins get yourself into the NCAA tournament, I feel like.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask you this, and this, I mean, like you said, this will be up after the South Carolina game, but what do you think we finish in these last 4? What's your
Last
prediction?
four. I'll go look real quick because I don't have the schedule.
We have at South Carolina, then
Yeah.
Vandy at home on Saturday, and then at Texas A&M, and then
Hmm.
Florida at home.
If you're asking me, I feel like we can go 2-2, whether we get a win away with South Carolina and a win at home against Vandy, or like get a win somehow at Texas A&M, or at home against Florida. I do feel like UK can still get 2 wins to finish out the year. Sadly, we probably won't get to the 20 win mark like we all thought we were going to at least. I had, 24-7 this year, but I do think they can go 2-2 to finish out the season.
You know what? I mean, I'm a obviously sunshine pumper, glass half full. I honestly think we will finish 3-1, and I don't
Three
really
and
know
one.
what the one loss is. I would hate to see it erupt if it's one of the Vandy or Florida, but we were
Hmm.
right there in the Florida game, and I think there's a lot of just can't wait to get back out there against
Yeah,
Vandy because of how that first game went. So I think we finished 3-1. I do think the South Carolina game is a win, like we had mentioned with our
yeah.
predictions, but I don't know if the loss is at A&M or if it's one of those at home. But I think we'll finish 3-1 in this one and finish on the well hot streak and
Yeah.
kind of with good vibes going into the postseason.
Yeah, I sure hope you're right because I would love to go 3-1 and get to 20-11 on the regular season, and then hopefully, get I would say maybe a top eight, like top eight in the SEC where you're ranked, and then for the NCAA tournament, hopefully get a better seed than like right now. I've seen a lot 8 through 10, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. The thing that's like so weird to me is like I've seen people tweet about this too. Like I would rather at this point get very I mean, obviously I would rather be like a 7 than the 8 or 9, but I'd honestly rather be the 10 or an 11
Yeah,
than a 8 or 9 because these
yeah,
ones are absolutely terrifying.
yeah. Definitely, they are very terrifying. But do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Woo! Well, we appreciate you all watching on YouTube, of course, listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But this is Chris Beesmore and
And Cameron Waddle,
signing out. Have a great week, everybody, and go Cats.
go Cats.